Live from Currituck, North Carolina, right here in front of the Currituck County Courthouse grounds. Before me, you can see the Confederate memorial here. It's a very unique, very different kind of Confederate memorial. Stands out, it's one of a kind. I'll explain to you a little bit about how it got this way. You can see right here off in the background, you see the Currituck County Courthouse building, dates back to 1842. And right over here, you see the old Currituck jail, which is known as perhaps the oldest or one of the oldest existing jails in North Carolina, dating back to around 1820 or so. This is right on the very east corner, the very extreme northeast corner of North Carolina. You can see off in the distance is the Knott's ferry that takes you out to Knott's Island. And this is the part of the old downtown. It's very quiet. You can be here, stay here for about 20 minutes and not have a single passing car. Here's a little merchandise, general merchandise, little store here, odds and ends type place. I'll go walk over there in just a moment. But primarily wanted to stop by and share this very impressive Confederate memorial with you right here. And also talk about the courthouse and the jail and the backgrounds. And a lot of it's explained right here on this historical marker, the Currituck County Courthouse. I'll first talk about the Confederate monument right here, because this was originally supposed to be a full-size, regular, typical memorial that looked like this, with a base and the statue on top. So you can see this part right here was built. And right there you can see that part was built, and they never did finish the top. This explains right here that they were funding it, they were planning on building it, but then funding elapsed and stopped for a while, and there was a northerner who volunteered to donate and provide the rest of it. And that caused a lot of consternation, and a lot of people were upset that a northerner was going to try to fund a Confederate memorial soldier statue. So they decided just to do away with that and build this instead. So now it's instead of having a large pedestal right here with a Confederate soldier on top, they placed this, about 2,500 pound, well over a ton, pink granite type marble around it, which is pretty cool in many ways. I would have loved to have seen the full-size memorial, but this is also very unique and special its own way. I've seen a lot of memorials, from the very large ones in Augusta or Stone Mountain, but some courthouses have much smaller memorials, and some are just unique, regardless of their memorial, right? In this case, to the Confederate dead, those who answered the call and did their duty, serve and protect and defend their homes, their families, and homeland in America's largest war. So this speaks about it right here. I'll read this and read also about this particular county. So the Confederate monument to your left has an unusual history. The original design featured a Confederate soldier atop an obelisk, similar to many such monuments. Confederate veterans erected the base in 1912. Right, so the base was placed here back in 1912. But the project languished until 1922, when Northern philanthropist Joseph Knapp offered to complete the memorial. The idea of a Northerner funding the monument prompted opposition that subsided when the framed plans were exhibited in the courthouse. So here's the original. Once again, it says the original design was supposed to look like this. They got that part and just never finished it off. But hey, it makes it still very special regardless, right? So the rest of this speaks about this county. The town of Currituck here has been the seat of county government since 1723. And the core of the courthouse to your right, the courthouse and the jail right here. The jail in front of you were here before the Civil War. By 1860, the county had 7,000 residents, of whom 4,600 were white, 2,500 were enslaved, and 223 were free blacks. The whites voted overwhelmingly for secession, and this square became a Confederate recruiting center. The Currituck Atlantic Rifles was organized here, as was the Currituck Light Cavalry. The latter became Company G, 4th North Carolina Cavalry. Because of the importance of Currituck Sound for military transport and the county's proximity, federal troops under Ambrose Burnside occupied the county. Now I want to move on to right here. How federal soldiers came through and they occupied a lot of this. Federal soldiers carried off many early county records. Some were returned in 1976. On July 23, 1903, Henry M. Shaw Camp number 1304, North Carolina Confederate veterans met at the courthouse and had a dinner on the grounds. Local resident J.B. Lee wrote that, and he wrote this. So you could just think about what that was like in 1903 when Confederate veterans met right here and had dinner right here on these grounds, 1903, well over a century ago. And here's, in fact, a picture of that right here, the veterans. So many of these veterans were here for a reunion. But I love what it says and how it was described to what happened here. J.B. Lee wrote that the yard of the courthouse and those of the hotels were filled with a solid mass of humanity, old veterans, children, young men with their best girls, and old maids and bachelors made the crowd one of the largest assembled in Currituck County. I love what it has to say right there. How he describes what it looked like here in 1903 when he says the yards of the courthouse and those of the hotels were filled with a solid mass of humanity, old veterans, children, young men with their best girls, and old maids and bachelors made the crowd one of the largest ever assembled. Really neat. So now we make a transition over to the old jail. Goes a car passing by. You could tell there's hardly any cars that pass by here. Stop by and see the jail right now, and after this maybe we'll go to the Mercantile, the little general store right across from here. Got a few little administrative type offices right over here. Here's the old Currituck jail. And there's a historical marker right here. It speaks about this a little bit. The construction date of the old Currituck jail remains uncertain, though there was mention of a jail as early as 1767 when the General Assembly passed an act to empower the justice to build a new prison, pillory, and stocks. The jail believed to have been constructed here in 1820. So they say this is one of the oldest extant jails in North Carolina, and small 3-bay influence bond with brick walls, 32 inches thick. So the old jail right there. Now I've been here several times before. It's never been opened, and I don't think it's designed at all for visitors. I took a peek in, and I don't think it is finished at all. I'll do the best I can to peek in there. You can see a fan right there. I wish I could open this up. It's all dark inside otherwise. Can't really see through these windows at all. These are solid. Looks like some potentially original iron. So let's walk back out here this direction. So you see the perspective of the Confederate Memorial just looking at from this angle they just talked about. I think I'll walk across the roadway here for just a moment. Love coming out to these little coastal places. This has a very kind of a coastal feel to it. I've been along the east side of North Carolina, and a lot of these towns are like that. I was just in Edenton a little bit earlier. That's third oldest settlement. I was just in Bath, passed by Bath yesterday. I was the oldest first settlement in North Carolina. So this is some of the oldest parts of North Carolina, and no surprise. I mean, we're just not too far south of Jamestown and Williamsburg. We're right along the coastline. So this is W.H. Snowden General Merchandise Store. And it's neat how they have this decorated here. They got these all along here. They got these actual shells. These are all real actual shells here. See a few places like that. So there's no indication of when this is actually open. I wish there was. I'd love to be able to stop in there and see it. I don't know if you can see in there very well. Well, actually, you can kind of see it a little bit. Looks like a lot of Christmas deco in there still. Try to block out this light. Got a lot of cobwebs, spiders hanging out here. I don't know if you can see that. You probably can't see that any better out here. No, not really. It's a big, massive cobweb spider right there. Looks like some Christmas type decorations. All right, well, always love to see these little mom and pop stores, those short stores. This might be the only store here in this area. Now there's an extension, a newer part of this area is down beyond, but this is the old original area. Well, this area is settled. First settlers came back here early. I mean, we're talking about 1600s and particularly the early 1700s. Edenton was really first settled. It became a town about in the early 1700s. And it actually became the second capital of North Carolina. It was the capital of North Carolina for like 20 years before it was removed again. So now I'm going to walk up here to the courthouse. The courthouse that dates back to 1742. And here's some old, neat little area. Once again, I don't know if you can see down there. Down there is the Knott's Ferry that takes you out to the island. But here in the county courthouse, and I think they still use it. Although I think it's by appointment. So in fact, there's an indication it's still being used because you can see the sign right here. It says main entrance. Please go back to the back side of the building for the entrance. And you see a memorial right here. It's very similar to the last one I was at in Elizabeth City, dedicated to those from World War I and World War II. And the old door. And for all I can tell, this might be the original one. I mean, it's pretty cool looking. This knob does not turn, so who knows? Huh. I wonder if they have if this functions also as a county museum. I'd love to see it if it was. A little bit of an indication right here that by the order of Currituck County Board of Commissioners, access to this facility is by appointment only. Please contact the department of your request. And you can see some phone numbers there, like the county manager, the county attorney, finance, human resources, information, permits, and so forth. So once, I don't know if you can see it, but from what I can see from my perspective, that is all part of the sound, all water beyond. There's no houses. It's just right beyond this property line is all, it's like almost well over a mile of just water and part of the bay or the sound. So this is part of the Currituck Historic Courthouse. There are several ferries around here. There's quite a few places where you cannot hop from one place to another without taking a ferry across. Well, I see some cars coming down. They're probably getting ready for the next ferry, is my guess. Coming up to the back to where I started. Once again, the historical mark on the Currituck County Courthouse and the Confederate Memorial right here. Just want to share this with you while I was here. I wasn't sure if I'd have data out here, and I'm not sure how this will turn out because this is a little bit more of a remote place, not as much of a population here. But I'd be glad to be able to share it with you. So anyway, once again, from here in this neat little town in Dixie, here in the far northeast corner of North Carolina, here in Currituck, North Carolina. I think this is my 5th courthouse and Confederate monument for today. Around there, I'm going to go try to see another one or two while there's somewhat daylight left. So it's just about 5 o'clock Eastern time. Let's see, 5 o'clock. And let me take a look at my Dukes of Hazzard watch here. Yep, just almost 5 o'clock Eastern time here. So a little bit of light left. All right, so take care, y'all. From Currituck, North Carolina.